Is everyone happy after some technical difficulties?
Speaking of technical difficulties, the controller's not working again.
Hello, it is Mr. Tex of the Black Pants Legion.
And we are here with Metal Gear Solid V, The Phantom Pain. The second non-playable, well, actually very playable, but non-demo version of Metal Gear Solid 5.
It's, that's the thing, is Metal Gear Solid 5, I sat down and listened to somebody once describe to me what Kojima had intended, and how the company had, of course, ruined his grand and illustrious and, of course, amazing input into the world of writing. And I sat back and said, did you play any other Metal Gear Solid games? And they said, no, it was hard to get through the cutscenes. And I said, exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
Much like a Phantom Pain, this game hurts and you're not sure from where.
Yep.
This is the game where we've learned that you can play with the helicopter. And you can make the helicopter do fun things with the sounds. But we also learned that by abducting and beating the shit out of people regularly, that you will be saluted and called a hero. Again, Kojima, trying to show us what a hero looks like. Just random violence to passersby and abducting them. Thank you, Kojima.
This is one of the few games where the beatings actually improve morale.
Isn't that weird? It's just amazing. I love that, he thinks that you can build a pipeline, a offshore oil platform, like what, off the Seychelles?
Uh-huh.
Where you can just build this giant fucking bunker complex and nobody's gonna do anything. I'm like, man, you put a weird tower offshore and the U.S. Navy will be up your ass in 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're gonna be like, there's a private army on an oil platform, and they're like, well, it's in the Seychelles, it's none of our business. I think it'll be like, well, time to handle it out.
Yeah, when Sealand declared its independence, how did the British respond?
No.
They redrew the map so they were still inside the coastal waters and said, fuck you.
Pretty much. Yeah, that's pretty much it. When you find people with these really weird ideas on you can't get me, ha ha ha, I'm hiding, nanner nanner boo boo, that doesn't really work in the real world. So it's really comic booky, which is weird because he does comic book with hyper realism from his point of view. And we just go full comic book because Metal Gear Solid 3 was pretty much a Bond film. It was a comic book. Everything was so over the top. Everything was so camp.
And yet very grounded. Whereas this one is hyper gritty and realistic, but it feels like it's not grounded in anything solid.
It feels like he listened to someone talking about the Wikipedia article on the Russian invasion of Afghanistan.
Yeah, and the executive outcomes era of Africa and was like, yep, that's a setting.
Yeah, and I'm like, there's a lot more to that in Sandline International and many other things, but that's another story.
So, when you delete your old save data, it ends the game and closes it to desktop, and you have to then restart with everything, including all of the accepting of the terms of agreement, because there's 8 million terms of agreement, because you're using their digital coin to play this game. Yes, it has its own NFTs. And then there's nowhere to go before it starts going straight into opening cutscenes. So, before I managed to figure out how to pause it, well, yes, microtransactions, but let me wax poetical, Derberger.
Yeah, you need to be able to. I mean, it's one of those things where you have to quote Samuel Clemens by saying, "Allow me to get my facts in order before I continue unimpeded my character assassination."
So, what we have missed is it played the audio from the helicopter crash at the end of the demo. And then it said, this is a world in a war without end, and this is 8 years later, right? So that is where we come into this bathroom sink.
Yeah, just sitting there. Kojima coin. You can use it to buy swimsuit pictures of tortured people.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how much of a badass you have to be to walk around with fingerless gloves on
on your one good hand, on your blood-coated Walkman.
You know, I'm gonna say this. Like, I've written a character that has one hand, one leg, and one eye. Right? I've written a character that is
there's copyrighted music all over this, and we're gonna get hit with stream debuffs. Sorry,
there's gonna be a lot of stream debuffs. But the thing is that, like, I've written a character with a missing arm, and I understand that if you have, like, a cybernetic arm or whatever in a universe where that is normalized, you don't have anything to, like, accentuate it or make it different. It's just an arm, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why, like, in Deus Ex Human Revolution, they do a really good job with cybernetics. You see people who are augmented, but they're still just normal people. You'll see a guy drinking a beer, but he's got, like, a cyber eye. You'll see somebody sitting down at a restaurant, they've got cyber legs. You'll see somebody working, emptying the trash, right? And they have cyber arms.
You'll see uncomfortable lumps in the forehead of a man and learn out their cyber sunglasses.
Indeed. God, that was horrible. It's like, you know what we need is hex divots in the brain box. That's where you keep your sunglasses. And I'm like, what if you hit your head? Like, are those sunglasses now in your brain?
It does stop being blurry. It's not myopia snake, sorry.
Myopic snake. No, it's like you have to hold R1 to blink. Like, what if that was it? Like, you had to hold R1 to blink? See, I wanted to... If I had more money than sense, I would love to do an animation making fun of when you write characters that have one eye. One thing that movies never get right, or anything else, is the lack of depth perception.
Yeah.
So what I would show is, like, the professor sitting there, and someone throws him the keys for something, and he holds his hand out, and it just sails past, and he's like, fucking eye. He's like, God damn it. Ah, yes, glaucomic snake.
Yeah, it is going to make me go through this whole thing. Sorry.
I was asked a question by a fan, though. How does a one-eyed man drive a mech? And I said, neuro helmet.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the heads-up display has a range counter on it.
How do people with eye patches drive cars? Your depth perception is minimized, but there's workaround.
Exactly. I mean, I'm colorblind and I have a driver's license. There are ways. You just have to work harder. So why, I have a question. Here's a good question. I've studied history, as you know, for a long, long time, and I'm a historian. And I've actually studied all sorts of weird things about culture. I've studied all sorts of weird things about the small little impacts of various pieces of technology and how they impact day-to-day life. One of the things that I was really looking at that was kind of interesting is I'm wondering at what point did nurses' uniforms go from the standard hat and the button up and the apron to the just wear a smock and the scrubs? Like, when did that transition occur? I want to say it was like the 80s or 90s.
Yeah, I'd say the 80s. And this is a well, where is this? This is Greece, so they're a little behind the times. By this point, I think American hospitals would.
No, you're not wrong. Is if you look at how culture changes, it's like tidal waves. It will come out of an area and start sweeping across the globe
Cyprus,
like a ripple. Zyme86 says, Nurse here, Tex. It started in the 70s, completed the transition by the late 80s. Well, thank you, Zyme86. Appreciate it. And thank you for being a good nurse.
I will say that opening with that song is an interesting choice, because that's the Midge Ure cover of Man Who Sold the World, of course. So
Yeah.
for a man who's lost a decade, the Bowie song had just come out when he was blown up. That's a cover that's very 80s. That's a nice transition, because it's, I recognize this, but it's different.
That's not a bad idea, but I can guarantee you Kojima didn't think of it. That's some art director with a good sense. Now, if I had to score this, you're not going to like my choice.
Okay.
As soon as you have to get out of the hospital bed and this starts getting into you can actually play the game part, I would use Miki Asakura's Holding Out for a Hero in Japanese.
How do you feel now?
Okay.
I would use that. It is Japanese disco dance beat music. Miki Asakura. I would use that. Just holding out for a hero as you run out. You know what I mean? That, or I would use Soul Bossa Nova by Quincy Jones. That's the Austin Powers theme.
You're going to make me actually type. Nope.
That or the Tiger Rag, I think.
What do you want from me here?
Name. Jim Bant. Jim Bant.
Yeah,
they want your birthday so they can play the weird birthday animation.
Yeah, they do. I would like to select the name. Okay, and typing's not going to work?
Okay. Here's a good quote. Well, all right.
Typing does not work.
Typing does not work. Well, as you know, Kojima likes layered games, so perhaps this itself is a game. Maybe this is your character in a coma. Like, this is what he sees in his coma.
Yeah, this is the flash of terror.
Yeah.
Okay.
That, or I would use Machine Gun by the Commodores. That's a good song.
All right.
What was his name? Wazd.
It won't even let me do that.
Wow. Man, I love Kojima games.
Oh?
Look at that.
Okay, if I scroll, I can get the enter to come up.
Nice.
Ah,
just
there
remember,
we go.
she breathes through her skin.
Yeah, There we go.
You know, I heard
Yeah,
somebody.
sure.
I heard somebody try to tell me.
Now then,
It's not important. It has absolutely nothing to do with the
please
game.
try to relax.
I know, but it's just funny. What's your name? Deb.
I need to tell you something.
Deb, born Jan 1. Year, unimportant.
Not to panic.
So here's a question.
You've been in a
How
coma for
different would this intro be if it was a different
yes,
one-eyed,
I know.
one-armed man
You would like to know.
in the bed?
I'm afraid it's been 9 years.
What would Randolph P. Checkers do?
So come on.
Just the doctor the whole time talking to him, and he's like, "Go away. I don't like you.
Try not to panic.
How do I write a prescription for fuck off?
Wait a second. Try not to panic.
What's the button to punch face?"
You'll be alright.
I can
Yeah,
tell that this is a
you'll be
fictional
alright.
take. I can tell this is a fictional take on the world of medicine because you're actually getting tended by 2 medical professionals when you need it.
Well, yeah.
How do you feel?
Your code name is Scrombles Pliskin.
It's been 1 week since you came to.
Shut the fuck up. I'm listening to the radio.
Try getting
Zymene, the nurse, says, also the doctor is actually on the bedside on the ward.
worry. You've lost
This
some
is called
strength,
double
but we've
teaming.
been made
So that's what?
to
That's
massage.
a Korean Air shoot down, right? 84?
Boy, Korean Airlines Flight 007.
Mustn't be allowed.
Let me see. That would be 83. September
Would be
1, 83.
83?
That's right. Same year as Able Archer.
Explosion. Upon examination,
So I think if you had that much shrapnel in you, this would be the waiting room for the afterlife.
You'd be
Now-
sitting next to Beetlejuice and the football team.
we also
That's what I mean, because I hate to say this, but like, okay, I have had x-rays done.
That's...
And,
yeah.
was removed.
you know, I've had x-rays done, and I'm going to tell you, in the center of your rib cage, there's this thing called a fucking heart, right? There's a heart. There's a heart in there and lungs. Uh-huh. And so the metal is obviously or has passed through all of those. You know. Now this one would be a little bit more difficult, the brain, right? Now, there's one guy
We couldn't
in
give you an MRI.
history that I can think of to have that much metal in his head. One guy I can think of
We suffer.
to have that much
Mr.
internal
Phineas
body bleed.
Gage.
Mr. Phineas Gage, indeed. Phineas Gage was a guy who, for those of you in chat who don't know, here's where the historians, Depp and I, can absolutely share this a little bit. Phineas Gage was a railroad worker who blew a railroad spike through his head. It went through his eye and out through the back of his head, and he survived in the 1800s. However, upon awakening,
I know it's difficult.
he had a 100% different personality.
It's best to see.
He became like irascible and paranoid and many other things. There was that one Russian
Alright,
dude
one.
who had the particle accelerator go through his head.
Oh no, I can only count till 6.
Damn. Well, carry the 5.
It's gonna be okay.
Actually, you can count to 15. You still got your toesies.
We don't know that. The x-rays don't go far enough down.
Yes.
Alright.
Oh, pardon, it wasn't a railroad spike. It was an 8-foot metal tamping rod.
Yes.
Sorry. It was the worst option.
My favorite part is they didn't do anything regarding the spike in your head, so like somebody could just walk up and tap it and you'd shit yourself.
Those who wish you
Yeah, like he's just got a spike in his head. Like you think someone turns on the microwave and he just starts flipping out and like running like Curly on the floor from the Three Stooges. Like he just starts doing that circular spin running thing, you know, and start making the woo woo noise. Like it's bad.
It's a wide open world up there. So there's something we need to take care of first.
Iron Phoenix, he's allowed to go blind in one eye.
I'm going to change your appearance.
He,
We have no
you
other
know,
choice.
he had a spike go through it.
Look-alike, however.
I love how you're sitting there and you've got like a beard that looks like it was glued on. They've never done good on beards.
No, they have not.
Never. Beards look like they are made out of. Ugh. All right. Oh yeah, you got to make your avatar. This reminds me of like all the time that people go through and you know, make these characters in games like.
Would you trust a man that has nothing but mutton chops?
Absolutely. However, if I see a man like that has nothing but mutton chops, I'm going to presume that he belongs to a football club. And that if you guess which wrong football team, he will make you wear your skin. He seems like the kind of person who's killed someone with a thrown beer bottle.
This isn't one of those fun sliders.
No. It's not like Mountain Blade, where you can make the guy look like a caveman. I remember I made one guy have a very pointy head. This looks like a guy who is wanted, you know, but not for something cool. This guy looks like a photo you'd find at the post office.
No, we want that pronounced ridge.
You want the man's forehead to be able to split melons, right?
Mm-hmm.
Iron Phoenix wanted destruction of mailboxes. Just make his eyes glassy, you know. Do the Bond villain thing. This man needs a monocle. I agree. I think this man needs a monocle. He needs a top hat. He needs something.
I don't know why I'm putting this much effort into it. Got those thin little bird lips.
What? No authority in those thin little bird lips.
No?
No authority. He's starting to look like he has a stronger English accent as we go on. I'm just saying that out loud.
Yeah, he does.
He looks like he says, water bottle. He's like, oh, is you me mum?
Oh yeah, snake tattoo. Why are these options? There we go. They call him Chin Gun.
Wow. Chin Gun. Yeah. Okay, Chin Gun Jones. Wow. He's like,
it looks a little rough.
Very good.
yeah, man.
Now,
If
let's
Snake
move
looked
this
like
down.
that, I think there wouldn't have been this many games.
Nah, probably not.
Healed nicely.
Nah.
To tell you the truth, these bandages were
I
more
can
for your
feel that accent with my
hide you
teeth.
from those who want you dead.
Wow. Dr. Zaius went bald.
Your
Wow.
name is
We
Ahab.
did our best putting him back together.
Forget that.
Chin Gun Jones.
Your past.
As soon as he, oh, cool. It looks like the insurance is here for your medical.
They said
This is
that's
what
not a
denial of-
necessary procedure.
Yeah, this is what denial of service looks like in the 80s, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
He looks like he came from a Glasgow football game.
This is you, as you've lived until this day. Tomorrow, it becomes a phantom.
Chin Gun Charlie knows what it sounds like when a man drowns in a bucket of baked beans.
Why are you still holding the mirror, Doc?
You know, when I'm being choked out, I frequently can hold my hands very steady. What? Who trusted a doctor with a gun? That's not do no harm. That's very harm.
That's a lot of harm.
Where'd this doctor come from? Space Station 13? Just Space Station 13, the most heavily armed workplace in history. Ah, Angry Pumpkin says he took the hypocritical oath.
Oh, yeah.
Is that sidearm sterile? What is Kojima's obsession with the Makarov?
I've never seen a Makarov that was finished well enough to have a glint like that.
I did, but someone made it that way. I saw the most amazing Makarov once. A guy made a royal blue Makarov.
Oh, good lord.
It was a total waste of money. He was like, Makarov, presentation like grade. And he made a, I shit you not, royal blue Makarov. Yeah, this is Space Station 13. People are fighting each other, people are throwing chemicals. This is Space Station 13 medical. That's a new comp, and this is just random people fighting them. This is a Grey Tide server.
Those mini flashbangs on her belt won't be around for another 25 years.
Doesn't matter. She's choking octopus or something. She's like choking hazard hyena, I guess.
When that hospital gives you a shot, they don't fuck around.
I know. But what I saw that was like amazing, what I saw that was like goddamn amazing is this guy made a royal blue Makarov and he carved, I shit you not, Coco Bolo grips for it.
Oh, good lord.
He carved Coco Bolo grips in the same AA grade that Beretta used for their 400th anniversary 92, but with the Soviet star in them. It is just like, it was obscene. He did gold inlay.
We're already on fire. Does more fire hurt more?
You know, it's one of those things where in most cases, no. In Space Station 13, yes. You can be double on fire. So, I mean, you've got the hook hand thing going for you. Now, I'm not trying to be mean, but like, okay.
Hold on. That was a good line.
The claw! Oh, Troublemint said the traitor drank the gasoline. That's what happened.
You can call me Ismail. What the hell is going on? Well, the good news is, you're in the land of the living. Bad news, the world wants you dead. On your feet, soldier. The whole place is coming down.
I mean,
You know,
the subtlety of the reveal, the super big ending of this game. Yeah, give me a little adrenaline. That never backfires.
Nothing like a little dioxin to get you back.
you know, here's the thing about adrenaline. I've never ever heard of someone using adrenaline as video games have ever portrayed it. You know what I mean? Like, usually adrenaline is the heart has stopped. I need to restart the heart, you know, from whichever effect. I don't think that I've ever seen like, hey, just have a little adrenaline. You know, it's not caffeine. There's a reason why it's controlled.
You
as a
need to
substance.
stop using wheeled things to try and get yourself up, buddy.
You know, this is... Snake doesn't look like he's disabled in this. He just looks like he's hammered.
I need
Like,
to hold on to the floor or I will spin off.
Yeah, he's just had like a handle of gin, and he's like, oh,
That is not
I
a
can...
UH-60 helicopter noise.
Whiskey Green Philistine says crank MD.
That's a good film.
Snake is just high as balls. And he's just drunk, and he's like, I fuck the police, just dragging himself like down the sidewalk. He's not even in a hospital. This is him getting tossed out of a bar somewhere.
I don't know of a hospital that'll put you in pants. Like, everybody should be in ass crack dress right there, like he is.
Yeah, I think that would be kind of funny if, like, why? Oh my god. I always thought this part was annoying when I played it. Because...
It goes on far longer than it should.
It goes on far longer than it should. And for someone with that muscle mass to act like a floppy fish is wrong. Like, make the guy look paper thin, right?
Yeah. Oh, we're going this way, I guess. Alright.
Yeah, he's just gonna have himself a crawl. I'm gonna have myself a scrape, as you know.
Don't mind me, buddy. I'm just gonna snail along the ground here.
His butt atrophied in the ICU. That's why you gotta do squats, people. That's why you gotta do squats. If you want your ass to look fantastic, do some squats.
Oh no, it's Gas Mask Kid.
It's Gas Mask Gary, the child. You know, if I saw magic, I'd start punching people.
Ah, there's more shrapnel. Snake's really, really lucky in all of these explosions that he has never landed on that fucking horn.
Now, I'm gonna say this just as a generic toss out there. These bang booms, as shown in, you know, Kojima film, typically are propelled by a thing that goes 8,200, you know, like meters a second, really, really fast, right? So when that thing lifts stuff in the shockwave, it goes like through stuff, you know?
My name is Whale Song Zukov.
Oh my god. Yeah, oh, sorry. Diggs says he built up his tolerance to shrapnel. That's right. Maybe it's like that thing in The Simpsons where Apu got shot and they were like, oh my god, Apu, are you gonna live? And he's like, no, the bullet bounced off a bullet that was already lodged in my heart from the last robbery.
Yeah.
Like, maybe that's what happened here.
I would absolutely believe if that doctor looked at that fucking x-ray and was like, well, most of this is encapsulated. Like, you had this before you came here.
Yeah. You know,
what's this arrow doing in here? Why did you never pull that out?
Why do you have 50 arrows in you?
That's real good on a dislocated shoulder. Just drop it into the ground. It'll set itself eventually.
And thank you, Itamo. Thank you for subscribing. For Tier 1.
Oh look, it's a Kojima poster.
I just wonder why they decided to bring back Whale Song Guy in a new form again for no reason. It's tragic.
He's so angry that Snake beat him that he refused to die. So now he's back as the coma body of him. And his rage, when matched with Gas Mask Barefoot Kid, who becomes Psycho Mantis later, allows him to locomote to search for Snake.
Hold up, let's fix this.
That looks like more than a shoulder, bud.
Yeah, Mornwelk asks, is Metal Gear 5 the one with a lady that breathes through her bikini? Yes.
You
yes,
just saw
indeed.
her, actually. She breathes through her bikini because she was set on fire with rubbing alcohol in this scene. That was quiet.
Right. And as you know,
most
being
people
set on
don't realize
fire,
that.
yeah, it's... You know, here's the other thing, is that an alcohol fire actually burns clear, which is horrifying. It's horrifying to watch an alcohol fire. You don't see it. You see the rippling waves of the distortion, and as it consumes other products, you see the colors of the smoke, but the flames itself are crystal clear.
This way, hurry.
So here's my question. Let's say that you were the bad guys in this and you needed to kill the hero guy.
Yeah.
Would you throw in some smonk in the middle of the hallway and then do nothing afterward?
Oh, yeah. Clearly that's the
Like-
way to do this.
Now, what is the, what would you say? Now, I know we've talked about this on the podcast a little bit, but could you tell chat at least a little bit of interesting information about how Kojima got a lot of his information from a really interesting guy, and that's why all of this stuff looks like SWAT stuff and not military stuff.
Yeah, his primary military advisor is a Japanese guy, and I looked up his history after we talked about him last time because I was half remembering some stuff.
Well, of course. I mean, that's how it is. Once you refresh your memory with something, you obviously go back and go, well, what do I really know?
So I was a little bit more dismissive than maybe I should have been, because he was in the French Foreign Legion for a period of time and was, by all reports, a very effective trooper with them. But the primary crux of his career was as a SWAT and counter-terror guy in Japanese counter-terror circles in Tokyo SWAT. And as such, he's got a very specific bent for equipment, plus, you know, this Infernal Affairs kind of choice of equipment that I think is driven by Kojima himself rather than his advisor.
It's kind of weird when you look at the series of equipment, because anyone who is in the French Foreign Legion of that era is going to be tougher than nails. Like, tougher than nails.
Mm-hmm.
They abuse the hell out of those guys.
If you want to hear a really honest first-hand account, Mouthful of Rocks, by Christian Jennings, is a fantastic memoir of that legion in that period.
Yeah, it's a real stark look at conflict. It makes you realize that there's a lot of heroism and fatalism, and it mixes together in a bucket. If you ever see a French Foreign Legion tattoo on someone, don't ask about it and don't start shit.
Yeah.
It's, if you see that, you're like, uh-oh, it's time to leave. Because
So these...
I guarantee you... Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I guarantee you that guy can and will fight the whole room.
Mm-hmm.
They will Battle of Cameroon and IHOP at 3 in the morning.
And probably win. If not, they will avail themselves very, very well before ultimately brought down.
Yeah, they're nuts. So, the French Foreign Legion started as this really interesting idea where the King of France was like, we gotta fight all these other people, but I don't want to use, like, soldiers I pay for and stuff. So
Man,
what
that's
if
a
we
really
empty
high
all the
rate of fire
prisons?
for an N60.
Yeah, it's probably a runaway gun. Oh man, that's the one thing that I think is funny is a lot of people love the M60. They're like, oh, it's so cool, and I'm like, having worked on them and shot them, they're not that great. They have one of the most jam-happy systems ever made. They are incredibly inefficient as machine guns, and they're very unreliable. They didn't get fixed really until the 80s. Because once you get to the later marks of those things, they start working well, but by the time they finally get them to work well, we just adopted the FN Mag, or 240. And it was like, just replace it with something that everyone else uses that we have parts for.
Don't you die on me.
It
Second
seems like
death.
we're dying. Second death.
Ahab.
Yep, Ahab and Ishmael. Man, those are code names. You can tell that Kojima read a different book this time.
Then what about the modern MG42? The MG3 is a good rifle. The problem is that with anything built off that system, you can have out-of-battery detonations, which are frequent when they are hot.
No, hit cover. There we go.
One moment, I have a phone call, if you don't mind.
Yep.
They're coming this way.
My apologies. I thought it was work, but it wasn't. You know, I wonder, when it comes down to Kojima and his place in the world, I'm wondering why he always feels he needs to tell these character stories where there are so many masked and unknown characters. Because I've kind of noticed that, haven't you?
Mm-hmm.
Like in all of his games, he loves masked and unknown characters, almost like luchadors who can like tear their mask off and go, "Aha, it was me all along." It's very like Venetian sort of masquerade. It's really wild. Also, I know how to make this outro better. Any one of you who have Spotify or anything out there and can put in a playlist, I would say for the Escaping the Hospital, I would play Freeze Frame.
Freeze frame, boo doo 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 doo.
As you're running out the hospital, you know, just all upbeat. That or the theme from Back to the Future, Back in Time.
Mm-hmm.
What's happening out there?
It's all right. We'll be okay.
I can't see what's happening.
Do you hear that?
What's going on out there? Hey!
Oh, Prošike.
Hey!
Hey! Hey! I can't see what's happening.
What is that? What's happening out there? Does anybody know?
Hey!
We should... Do you hear them coming?
Alright, so let's see what's going on next. Oh, gonna run down the hallway and fight people, huh?
Nope, there's no fighting in this section.
Oh, man. You're telling me that you can't play the video game?
Nope.
No,
I am in an
just
interactive cutscene.
Oh, man, I love those.
Because Kojima got tired of people telling him his cutscenes were too long and you couldn't do anything.
Right.
So now he's made cutscenes where you have to do something.
Yeah, I mean, it's as much as I want to shit on this. I want to say this. How is this different from like Telltale games? You know what I mean?
It's not, functionally.
Functionally, I don't think it is either.
Anybody that moves like that is constipated.
Okay, that's fair. That is absolutely fair. Yeah, cutscenes you can fail. That's a fair way of putting it. The crawling phase of any game.
Yep. So I think that he, for these bad guys, I think he saw like some pictures of SEALs in the 80s with VBSS teams.
You think?
Because that's kind of generally what they've got going on. They've got CVC helmets, gray flight suits.
No, you're not wrong, and it does look like visit board search and seizure teams. It looks like a ship-to-shore team that has been up-armed very quickly, deployed, and then is in a position. But their equipment, when it comes down to armor and heavier wheeled stuff, doesn't match that.
No, it doesn't. I think just uniform. I think he gave them whatever cool stuff he could. Cause,
I think it's rule of cool. I mean,
Yeah.
I think Kojima is rule of cool. I think that is essentially Kojima in a nutshell, is rule of cool. Rule of cool Kojima.
Anything? Negative. He came in here. Keep looking.
yeah, like they've got fucking SCBA packs on their back.
It is an interesting mix of things.
This way. We're setting ducks. Blend in with the bodies. Get down on your stomach and crawl.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ.
Don't you die.
Because I ran into his feet, and Snake doesn't like feetsies, so he stood up.
We're setting ducks. Blend in with the bodies. Get down on your stomach and crawl.
I'm just wondering, like, at what point when Kojima was playing through this for the first time, do you think he, like, stood up and was like, it's perfect?
If you move, we're done for. Play dead.
I mean, I'm just watching this and I'm going, at a certain point, shouldn't the player have some agency?
Alright, there's something going on with this controller.
Don't you die on me. Ahab.
We're gonna have to do this by keyboard.
I played this with a keyboard.
It's not bad with the keyboard, not like the other ones.
That's the thing, is I'm very thankful that eventually, when they made games for, you know, console and keyboard, they finally actually made them reasonable.
That's sprint.
For, oh, yeah, there we go.
D is crouch in, prone,
C for caprone.
caprone.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
here,
it's a very good port, which is surprising for Konami.
yeah,
On your stomach and crawl.
All right, let's just sit here at the ass crack of Snake and crawl through. Oh no, he had to stand
So-
up to crawl down to stand up.
yep. Tap for kneel and hold for prone.
Okay, Gilly Monster says, I wish they had either Sam Elliott or Morgan Freeman to voice Snake.
If you're gonna get rid of him, Kiefer Sutherland is somehow miscast and underused.
You know, that's the thing, is it's... Kiefer Sutherland is a great voice actor for what he does. And, yeah. And then, I don't know why they got rid of David Hayter. I don't know what that decision was, but...
Allegedly, it's because Kojima didn't like how much attention he got from English language audiences.
Alright. That's
Why would
interesting.
you pull out an RPG 7?
Because he's the guy who plays Insurgency with us.
Okay, fair.
That's me. That's me in any game of Insurgency. In any game of Insurgency Sandstorm, that guy is me. It's like, we're kicking the door down. And it's like, why do you have a bazooka? And I'm like, what if there's a tank? And then you'll say something like, indoors? And I'm like, it would be surprising, wouldn't it? That's why we got to be prepared to have indoor bazooka.
I will say oh, yeah, there you go.
I used to be the call in the airstrike guy, Diggs, but the problem was I never had a radio dude when I needed it. So I've transitioned to being bazooka guy. I used to be the call in the airstrike guy all the time, but the problem is you need the radio to actually get the call off. And usually by the time I'm like, oh yeah, let's kill these guys, radio guy's dead. And I'm like, damn it. So I learned that if you bring your own bazooka, you don't need an airstrike. You just have one. I just kind of analyzed it and said, what makes me happy? You know? And the answer to that was bazooka. Ah, yes. The man who's made out of fire. Now, I realized that if Kojima had been a little bit more competent in his elements, instead of writing any of this crap, you could have used all of these elements and written a fantastic Delta Green game.
Oh, yeah.
You could use this as a Delta Green game all day, every day. Like, these elements, military, government, secret, fighting monsters from beyond, all that stuff, this would be beautiful Delta Green stuff.
Yep. Oh no, my leg. Who put the fucking coat back on his body?
Alright. Wolf999 asks, what is the minimum arming distance on an RPG-7? The RPG-7 is the launcher. The PG-7, or the PG-7V post-1975, is the projectile, and they will arm within 3 to 15 meters.
They've also got a contact fuse that you can detonate without ever launching the projectile.
Yeah, that's why that nose cap's kind of important.
The ANP would always yank the nose caps off.
It's a bit problematic.
They thought it made them slower.
Yeah, I know. The thing is when it comes down to, RPGs, they're actually really reliable and quite simple to use.
All right, sprint time.
The only thing that people don't get right in films is that in films and video games, they show them, shooting a long whoosh and the long trail goes out. In real life, it's bang bang. It's fairly quick.
Oh yeah, they're super fast.
Also, this game is very unrealistic because Hardball doesn't kill that guy.
So, I've got a mod
It's
on
a good
here. No, that
1945
is.
joke.
That is.
Come on. Come on.
Oh no, water! My only weakness. I'm melting. I'm melting.
70% of the Earth's surface is water. This guy's not a very powerful villain. You could just get on a dinghy and be like, all right, come get me. And he's like, damn, you're just sitting there in your inner tube. Like,
We're
10
on
feet in a puddle.
Cyprus. We're surrounded by water.
How'd this guy get here? How is the sky fire whale afraid of water? What a world!
Well, it's not
world.
treating an injury.
My favorite, Delog says, is he an alien from Signs? I'm like, yeah. Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's an alien from Signs.
I will say.
That's one of those things as well, is like Far Cry started that.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh no, you have a bullet in you, and your guy would just pull on his thumb and be like, I'm fine.
Yes.
Venom Shake says, why so many dislocations? Well, Kojima thinks the human body is designed by Stretch Armstrong. Valley Grauman asks, why didn't he set off the sprinkler system by, being on fire? Good question. if you wrote a very good plot with fine attention to detail, you would say yes, indeed, that would be kind of important.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause
Yeah, he
if
definitely
you're-
was putting off enough heat to melt the solder on all of those.
right, and so it's one of those things of if you show someone's doing fire and heat, you show, oh, boom, he triggers the sprinklers and then he disappears, and that's how the player knows without saying anything. This guy
Why
has
did
an
he
issue.
just...
Oh yeah, he's just doing that, I guess. The flames are magic, so there's no heat given off. Excellent, excellent.
That's how that works, yep.
Yep.
Okay, what now?
Oh yeah, now it's time to shoot these special forces guys who brought cut down weapons and don't know how to use them.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. You know, for indoors, I perhaps would have used something like, oh, I don't know, shotgun or something similar.
No, they've got Uzis. And they've only got Uzis because I did a mod that replaces all the fake guns with real guns.
That's awesome. Nice.
I think it adds quite a bit.
I think that's a good idea. That's nice. And an MP5K or MP5 Kurz, which is German for short, would be, yeah, it probably just fine. I think the cyclic rate is a little bit too high for actual practical use. The normal MP5 is not that big. You can carry that one. An MP5 SD would be an excellent choice for something like this. You wouldn't go deaf.
That's important.
If you're trying to find a specific guy as a bad guy in one of these situations, you want to be able to hear him running around. So you don't want the loudest gun in the pot. Don't touch that. That's hot. I literally watched somebody do that at the gun range. I watched somebody shoot with a suppressor for an hour and then reach out and grab it. And as soon as they did, I realized that they had made an error. See, one of the things you learn in gunsmithing or working with guns is hot metal and cold metal look almost exactly alike.
Strange that.
Yeah, a suppressor doesn't work if you scream. That's fair. Well, that's interesting.
Oh yeah, the freeze frame thing they do?
Yeah. I like that because you can jump off of stuff and then do a crazy, like, 3 or 4 shots and feel like a hero. I do like that they put that in.
Well, they had to when they got rid of the specific angles. Like, that is the only way this game would work and not be as brutal as, like, Ghost Recon.
That's fair. Ghost Recon was always one of those games that just broke your legs to break your legs.
Uh-huh.
Then again, all those old Tom Clancy games were fantastically difficult.
And yes, the 1911s used by the Super Secret Deniable Ops Force have the name and insignia of that Super Secret Force engraved on the slide.
Well, if you think that's crazy, remember that in Iraq, the Navy SEALs did leave a whole bunch of magazines marked with property of U.S. Navy and Navy SEALs on them for a special operations extraction. Nothing says we weren't here like property signed by you.
Yeah.
Very secret.
So I guess I forgot there was a little bit of combat here.
A little bit, but not a lot.
Yeah.
So isn't that thing supposed to be a Centauro wheeled gun platform?
I think so. Either that or it's the AGS fucking Striker.
Well, it's because I know they're kind of going for Centauro Frekia, like Centauro 2 and stuff like that. That would be ish, kind of right, maybe, but there's kind of a problem with that, is that very out of place for the era, really.
I guess Chris Costa trained all these guys in point shooting?
Oh, you mean they've got all the exaggerated C-clamp and the super... Yeah, absolutely they do.
Well, that's beyond even what he teaches. They've got the entire fucking weapon sideways.
I know. I've seen the over-exaggerated C-clamp, and I've seen people use it really well. Like,
Yeah.
I can't say that it doesn't work. I've seen people do the scorpion grip with everything on and do it really well. I'm a very different guy when it comes to gun stuff. I understand that, you know, there's central axis relock, there's all these different systems. You know, there's the Taran Butler school of things. There's a lot of different people. For example, if you want to know why John Wick looks like John Wick in that movie, the Taran Butler school of shooting is why. He's the guy who taught them to shoot that way. That is a professional school of competitive shooting, and you can go learn that. But
It's really slick.
It's very slick, and it actually works. It's Taran Butler. Taran Butler does that shooting style. And if you go watch him shoot, and then you go watch John Wick, 1-1. He's the guy who trains competitive shooters. So you'll see a lot of different styles in games. You're like, oh, that's Chris Costa. Oh, that's Taran Butler, and you can pick that stuff out. If you want to see, you know, the real, in terms of people who have been to combat many, many times, you're going to go look for a guy named Clint Smith. Clint Smith is a Marine veteran, and he ended Vietnam, and then he was, I believe, LAPD SWAT. So he was a cop and a Marine. So he has kind of two different schools of firearms manipulation, but he's another trainer. And if this was the Taran Butler school of things, you know, you're going to see a lot of very slick action. But if it's the Clint Smith school of things, Clint Smith would say blow up the building.
Yeah. There's very, very different schools of thought on what close quarters combat should look like if you are a police officer or if you're a soldier. And those two schools intermixed freely during the War on Terror to, I believe, the military's detriment. Yes, thank you. I was looking for the word.
It's quite fine. I write for a living. I'm handy with words. When it comes down to, like, you know, like the Clint Smith school of things, he would just be like, blow up the building! Just blow the whole thing up! Don't go in there! Like, that's how he talks. He said that stairs are the recipe for disaster. He's like, stairs and doors, just blow them up! And I'm like, okay. And it's interesting to see that, you know, all these different styles starting to show up in games where you can go, oh, that's blank, that's blank, that's blank, you know. Yeah, hey, look, Kojima's doing tank nights. The difference would be forsooth. You would see a guy leaning out of the hatch, being like, forsooth! I cast my vengeful gaze upon you. Glory! I was too brave to accept their surrender.
Oh, we are almost through this checkpoint, people, and then we can begin playing the game.
How many explosions is he going to eat today? That's a great question. Now, the thing that's interesting about explosives is they don't even actually have to throw shrapnel to make you dead. That overpressure PSI blast wave is more than enough to stop your heart. And deflate your lungs
positively.
and do many other things. They can turn your bones to dust and your brain to jelly. So it's one of those things where even concussion grenades or flashbangs can do a lot of damage. Explosions hurt. Nice.
So the tank didn't do anything for him, but that ambulance...
Like a rock.
Get in!
Isn't this supposed to be like a Ford E350?
Yes.
Because I remember
I've
those
driven
vans.
an ambulance variant of this, actually.
I've seen those vans like everywhere. They were just absolutely unkillable. You would always see them like in painters or plumbers. Everyone had a van like this in the late 80s for like small business in America.
Those poor firefighters.
Well, seeing as that fire truck made a mushroom cloud when it rolled over, I don't think they were carrying water. You know, if I was going down the road and I knew my life depended on, you know, not dying, I wouldn't drive on the wrong side of the road. And I also wouldn't floor it. Because let me just give a point of advice. How many movies have you seen where the hero tries to get away in the car, floors it, and then has an accident?
Yeah.
So why would you know, why would you just rush? I mean, if they have helicopters and radios, you're not going to outrun a helicopter. And
Nope.
sure as fuck are not going to outrun a radio.
Well, that was smart. Why would you have your M2 pointed anywhere but down the road if you are to be a vehicle checkpoint?
Not only that, but whatever happened to these guys and the idea of like just a nice, like, you don't need a helicopter. All you need to do is like take a dump truck and just park it across the road and then just wait, you know? Because they can't drive around the dump truck if you stand there with a rifle. They're just not allowed to.
Yeah, yeah.
They have to ask you permission. You can be like, no.
It's a very Operation Just Cause way to look at things.
Yeah.
The weird photos you had of them like commandeering U-Hauls.
Yeah. It's just one of those things of like make do. Yeah, and it's like, if you can outrun a radio, you don't need to worry about anything they can do. Like, if you have that ability, you're like the Flash.
Yeah.
You know? And maybe the fire truck carried pure hydrogen, you know? They were going to make water on site.
So I'm trying to figure out what gas mask they're wearing.
Well, it's a really interesting one because it seems to have multitudes of filters. Oh yeah, what is the goddamn story with the fire demon and fire mage? Oh, you mean and the fire whale? That one? Yeah. Alright. Are you ready to have your moment, Diggs? Because I will tell you who that is. I will tell you who that is.
And then the fire unicorn.
And the fire unicorn. Do you want to know why this person exists? Yeah. Remember that guy, Diggs, at the end of Metal Gear Solid 3 that got struck by lightning? That sadomasochistic guy that tortured people and could use electricity and shoot bullets with his hands? So he was so mad that when he died, he came back as fire. That's literally Vulcan from Metal Gear Solid 3. Kojima was like, what if he came back as a fire guy with magic powers and could make a sky whale and unicorn and was bulletproof and could fly like a rocket? I'm dead serious. So I see that you went with wow. I mean, again, Hollywood moment. Your horse is fireproof? Kind of. Your horse is many-thing proof. Your horse is hugely proof against most stuff, somehow. basically Kojima writes a bunch of Skeleton King bad guys,
Yeah.
and he just does that. He basically just goes like, hey, it's the Skeleton King, and you're gonna die. And you'll say, I would rather not. And they're gonna say,
Me firing this shotgun has absolutely no bearing on how any of this goes, if anybody was wondering. All it does is if I hit him and don't let him, like, sit for 15 seconds, then he doesn't set the trail in front of us on fire, magically. But that has no bearing on our survival.
You get him? We shook him off.
Did we? He's, like, right
So-
fucking there. Oh, yeah.
I had a friend try to explain this was a serious series about the military-industrial complex.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not true. Yeah, his commentary on the military-industrial complex is absolutely hackneyed and nonsensical. It's largely very, very bad straw man arguments and characters that needlessly suffer for no reason. And a lot of distractions aside, it's nowhere near condemning as anyone else. I mean, all you would have to do is play Eisenhower. I mean, shit, I did. He defined the term.
Mm-hmm.
But no, he just needs to say stuff like, everyone has nukes, but you need the child soldiers, and then the philosophers, and then family. Like, it feels like the plot writing of a Fast and the Furious film, but if you told those people that they were opera. Like, if you got the Fast and the Furious writers together and you told them for like a year that they write the most sophisticated opera of themes and characters and interesting scenarios,
I got S
they
rank
believed it. Ah, excellent.
on that
S rank.
cutscene.
Good job. I love that the
56
cutscenes are scored.
minutes. 56 minutes in that cutscene.
Yep. Time for the next cutscene.
Mm-hmm.
Hope you like film.
Kojima was inspired by an OVA where the first episode bad guy was a murdered scientist who possessed a supercomputer that grew a face out of wires. Cyber City Odo is a trip and Kojima does it worse. Okay.
Wow. I mean, here's my thing. We're sitting here watching this, right? We're watching this unfold. And as we're watching this unfold, you realize that this is the sum total of work of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people and millions of dollars. And at no point did anyone go, stop.
He'd kind of gotten rid of everybody who could.
That's fair. That is kind of the George Lucas problem.
It's very much a George Lucas style problem, where as these games continued, the people who would filter his ideas into something sane either left or were driven away by him as he became the genius auteur who was the one who made it all work.
Cormac McCarthy's The Magical Pony. That does read like a Cormac McCarthy novel.
Yeah, as long as the checks don't bounce, I guess. Also remember, in Japan, it is frowned upon to criticize the boss. Also very true. I mean, we're looking at this from a Western culture. I'm sure there's all sorts of cultural issues you can sparse out of these.
Well, that's the thing, is when it comes down to writing anything, like, I will write and read my scripts to people that I trust, and then I onboard their feedback. Like, if they go, that's too long, that's too much, I drifted off at this point, I don't give a fuck. Like, if they give me feedback, I take it on board, and I use that to write another draft. But you have to shop ideas around. Because if you're just the sole person and you don't respect other people's input and their craft, like when I work with Mike, there's plenty of times where Mike will just say, I want to cut this or what have you. And I go, okay, because you have to trust your editor. You know, your editor is like the backseat guy in the F-14. He's like the weapons officer. He's going to lock stuff up and help you shoot stuff with long-range missiles, and he's going to do all those really cool things. And you got to trust him, but you also have to fly the plane, right? And you can take some input on their flying of the plane. You can take some decent input on their flying of the plane, but you're the pilot, and they're the weapons officer. And so you both stay in your lanes, but you have to accept some input. And you also have to give some direction. Dogs One Up is writing all of the lyrics to Snake Eater. That's great. What a thrill when darkness
Very good.
Through the night.
Well, there's our ride. It's a whaling ship. A pretty good deal.
No, nobody told me they were too short. Quite a few people told me they were too long, and so I've been trying to hold myself to a better, concise way. And so I'm finding that some of them are too long, some of them obviously need to be cut into more pieces, but I'm more than fine with a 90-minute film or a 2-hour film. 3 hours is a bit much unless it's truly, truly, truly majestic. It also depends upon what you want to make. You have to be able to say, I need to give people 3 hours of entertainment. But long format is strangely on the way out. It's a very odd situation, but I've met people who say, I will not watch a 3-hour movie. And I go, okay. But they will go watch a 6 to 8 hour stream. And I go, well, why is that? And they go, well, it's interactive. So I go watch the stream they're watching to see, to try to judge what they're talking about. And I find there's 3,000 to 5,000 people in chat, and all it is emoticons going by at 1,000 miles an hour. And I go, how is that interactive? That's just putting a Twitter feed next to TV. But it's one of those things where I think that 2 hours is perfect for most film format. But I'm also a person who believes that, you can find better or other film formats. Is that a semi-rimmed bullet going into a revolver?
Uh-huh.
Okay. God damn it, Kojima.
I do appreciate that they decided to give us the Indiana Jones map montage.
I love that as well, but I also hate it. But as far as I love how he has like an electronic cigarette in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. He's got a holographic iPod that they call the iDroid.
No, it's different.
He's got the direct action penetrator UH-60 before they'd even begin phasing out the UH-1. Yeah, there's just this massive mishmash of things.
Malark says, welcome to the Graveyard of Empires.
Yeah. And now it's time for another tutorial.
Oh, thanks for the gift subs. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you didn't have to, dogs.
As far as it goes, with writing, if you can't hold people's attention for 5 minutes, don't write 2 hours. When it comes to a plot, Kojima's problem is that he feels it's very necessary to layer a narrative. So you have a prequel, then you have an opener, then you have another opener, then you have, an intermezzo, and you have 10,000 little things. And at any point, you're asking yourself, when does the story start? Because you have 10,000 false starts. And I find that if the character or anyone else is asking a question, what in the cinnamon toast fuck am I doing? That's not a good sign. Someone needs some reassurance. Someone needs to understand why their character's there and what their motivation is at any given time. And I think that's very, very critical. Oh, yeah.
They only brought the
So-
one canteen for the both of them?
One canteen in Afghanistan, which, as you know, is very, very, very easy to find water.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no, I guess the one on his belt's already empty. Is that what you are, Snake? You're the asshole that drains your water immediately and bums from everyone else?
What a dick.
9 years on ice.
Well, you could be like Bear Grylls and just drink some elephant turds or something.
Yeah. Eat enough grass, it filters the water.
Thank you, Bear Grylls. Here's this one-of-a-kind piece of technology. Anyways, hope you don't drop it or something. Hope no one picks it apart.
Check its location now. Take out your iDroid.
I would have been much more interested in this game if you actually had shit that mercenary units in the early 80s would have had access to.
Boss, take a look at your iDroid.
That would be interesting. They didn't do that.
Yeah.
The problem is we don't know his exact location. Finding it is your first priority.
Also, when I played this game, I was really upset.
Marker placed.
Because I ran around and antagonized the Russian bases and stuff, and not once did I have a Hind show up to fuck my day up.
There is a mod that can change that, but yes.
Got your binoculars? Or should I say your int scope?
I'm just saying, I expect a Hind to be, you know, scary.
Look up.
It's what a Hind does.
All right, that's the village. If you see something through the binoculars and you need more...
There's a good question. Mornwelk, what sort of stuff would mercs in the 80s have?
That's VLO village.
That's a fair question indeed.
Villagers fled the
You're
war and
going
evacuated a while back.
you're going to have a lot of different equipment. A lot of different equipment.
You're going to
F
see a
and
lot
FALs
of
are gonna-
legacy equipment, especially World War II American surplus still.
Put a marker on it so you don't lose
Yeah, that's going to be everywhere. But in terms of more modern stuff, F and FALs by almost everyone, because there's a lot of plans for them. G3s by almost everyone, a lot of plans for them. Because the Greek plant's still running. God, the Portuguese plant's still running. There's a lot of HK derivative plants at this time. They're making a lot of HK product. So it would be an interesting mix, but basically anything that any of the global superpowers had for the past 40 years.
You just go charging into Doan Day.
Hind D. The D stands for die.
See what you can find out first. The Soviets have other outposts, not just the one you saw.
What happened to the Shadow of Doubt VOD?
Place.
No idea. I don't
No
handle
idea.
that side.
Quite familiar with those
Yeah,
binoculars.
that's digs on the back end, but I think that there's some issues with the VODs with sound rights or something. We have to actually toggle them on, I don't know. But it'll be there. at
Yeah,
some point.
sound rights are always an issue with these games. This one, I'm already going to tell you, is probably not going to be a VOD because
Yeah.
of the copyright music that is all over this game, and we can't do anything.
But those 9 years
Yeah,
of
because again, fuck content creators. Don't give them a button to turn that off, right?
cost would want it. I'll be sending additional intel by radio. Stay sharp. Not one of Miller's bodyguards survived.
I love how they're using like the cover of 3 p.m. in Afghanistan to do stuff.
Corpses
Yeah.
and knees.
I'm sure that 2 guys that look like they roamed off a Western set
There is only hope of getting
wouldn't stand out with cybernetic arms, you know,
Mm-hmm.
in the 1980s in Afghanistan.
There's this really cool feature where if you kill enough people, Snake's brain grows bigger and it slowly pushes the shrapnel out of his head.
Oh yeah, I remember that. You got to get that big brain energy, and the shrapnel
Why?
slowly just slides on.
What did
out.
you get out of that? Other than just beating your horse, Snake.
Well, Snake likes to beat his horse. Giggity.
Giggity. So, yep, here we are. We're playing.
Wouldn't it be funny if you ran down the road with your horse and then, like, it reared and kicked and you fell off and broke your neck? And it's like game over. And the whole thing is just about horse safety. Lord Commissar Eisenart says, would Merc companies in the 80s have tanks and the means to run them? They had Hind gunships. Go look up Executive Outcomes or Sandline International. Those guys would be a very good example of the sort of capabilities you have.
Yeah, they ran their own air forces.
Yeah, a lot of these guys have their own air forces. Most people use an air mobile doctrine in this period. Tanks are very slow and very expensive, and so the mercenaries would typically let the governments run those things. They favor the helicopter, go and do business, get out.
Yep. If they
Minimal
needed
time in the
it,
area.
something like an APC, BTR-2, could be useful, but yeah, they very much were aping Fire Force at this point in time.
Mercenaries are expensive. You cannot hire many of them.
Yep.
And so you need to make sure and ensure that you're using them where you need them. And in this time period, getting them in a helicopter and dropping that helicopter on the enemy is a far better idea. The other thing that mercenaries of this era would do is act as advisors. So if you cannot hire an army of mercenaries, you could hire 10 or 20, and they could act as NCOs for your military as you try to retrain them and get them to do what you need them to do. So you just hire foreign experts as advisors, and they act kind of like commandos for your army.
Yep. There are many different ways to utilize mercenaries.
But in this time period, it's about big bang for the buck. It's about rapid mobility, and it's really just about trying to get in and out of a problem with as much firepower on target as possible. So Sandline International, Executive Outcomes are all very good examples of mercenaries in this time period.
Yeah, this is very much the end of the age of great individuals in the kind of the mythos of all of that. Your Mike Horrs, those guys were ending in the 80s.
And if you hear the stuff like Roland the Headless Thompson Gunner and stuff like that, that's more Congo Crisis and such, but this is the tail end of the classical era of mercenaries. After this, it becomes a lot more corporate, a lot more regulated, and you see the rise of, very big multinational entities that become fairly much just kind of police for hire, general security people, and you find that firms divest from they try not to say mercenaries anymore. You see a big split, and they say, no, we are private military contractors. We provide security services for installations, and we provide, security transitions from one government to the next and stuff like that.
A lot of that came about because of unregulated use of mercenary forces in Africa in this period, because they have a very long line of atrocities attributed to them this period. I'm not seeing fucking anybody in this village. You?
It's an empty village, man.
Oh, no, there's one guy. Why are you guarding an empty village? They hate you that much?
They hate that guy. They told that guy, they said, hey, guy. And he's like, yeah? And they're like, go fuck yourself. And he just starts crying.
So how do I actually
we found a guy,
downsides?
So we need to go kidnap him.
I can't kidnap yet, I don't think. They haven't invented the balloon.
Oh, that's right. They did not invent the balloon yet. So you're just going to need to go beat the brakes off him.
Yep. In my tiger stripe.
Ugh. Yeah, you're looking just fine for Thailand. Nice. That was very nice. That was just very nice. Canopa's cat asks, wait, is this the same game with the fire demon from 40 minutes ago? Yes!
Yes! Yeah, now we get into the dusty period
The
of the
dusty
game.
period of the game. We've had the hospital and fire demon area of the game. Now we need to have the dusty period of the game.
Good enough. I will say the Russian uniforms they did a pretty good job on.
Well, I do love the idea of seeing differences. Like, they did a good job with it, except for that last guy. Because, as you know, the guy without the belt-fed machine gun carries an ammo belt for a PKM.
Yeah. But like that guy, that's a 6B3 or 6B5, I forget which. That's a
I like-
standard M88 Afghanka top and hat. Those are KZS pants.
He looks believable, right?
Yeah.
And you've got the AKS-74 rifle, fairly fine, fairly believable for Russian desantniki or Motorstroki battalions.
Yeah, these
Of
guys are
this
supposed to
time.
be VDV.
And perfectly fine. It's just one of those things where I'm like, yeah, that's perfectly fine and reasonable. AKS-74 fits. Actually, AKS-74M. But yeah, perfectly fine and reasonable for that guy. So they seem to see somebody walking around and doing, like, grab people stuff.
Yeah, somebody in, again, tiger stripe camouflage in Afghanistan. Afghanistan has some green places. They're all along the
many.
river.
Yeah. So what are you going to do?
Well, I was going to kidnap that guy over there and just interrogate him and eliminate the fluff, but...
Let's see. Just continue sneaking around. That's all you got to do. Sneak, sneak.
Yeah.
Sneaky snake, man.
Those materials are already processed.
I don't give two shits about the material. I found a cassette tape.
Start gathering them.
A cassette tape that the Russians pretty much could not have had.
Well, it's one of those things where you realize that, yeah, there's a lot of things here that should make sense, like cassette tapes or the holograms or, the Fulton system that works for snatching people up, because that's not really... Okay, fine, whatever. Sure, no
Yeah.
problem. All right, now just grab... yeah,
Fuck
there
you.
go. Nice.
Just go down. Jesus fuck.
That's one of the things that I love is in video games where the people who make video games think that 5.56 bullets or 7.62 requires 30 or 40 rounds to kill somebody. Oh, they're doing the same animation.
Yeah.
One of them's a copycat. Lavinian 7.62 just tipped 6.90. Nice.
Sorry, bro.
Comrade, a one-eyed tiger stole your mixtape and worm collection. I'm sorry.
Oh, they gave me a non-lethal something. Why? Alright.
Alright, well, let's just steal this guy and run off with him.
I'm just getting him away so that I can try and interrogate him.
Well, the interrogations have started. You whipped him against the wall.
Now you're gonna
Alright.
do this?
Oh, wow. You kicked him awake and now he's like, I'm sad.
Yeah, he's not happy, I guess.
Well, you did fill him full of bullets, so he's doing the I'm full of bullets dance, which is, painful.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose. That is not a spotlight that I recall the Soviets ever using.
Don't worry about it. No one
on
needs to know
a
how much we know
stand
about-
that looks like a fucking oversized jack stand from Harbor Freight.
Listen, the Soviets were very big into Harbor Freight. I love Harbor Freight, man. You go down to Harbor Freight and you can get yourself a 6-pack of drills for your next project.
There's got to be some button that can slow down my fucking wall.
Harbor Freight, my favorite provider of disposable tools.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, OP74 says, and use all of them. Correct. That's what I was suggesting. You get 6-pack of drills and just one after another.
Without saying that darkness is good for infiltration, but your vision will be affected just the same. Keep your guard up, but who knows when you'll bump into an enemy.
Oh,
Belong to
man.
me now.
I wonder how bad Soviet Harbor Freight would be.
What would the name of Soviet Harbor Freight be?
Oh, man. That's a good question.
Come on down to Red Iron.
Red Iron. Tractor Supply is good. You can go to Tractor Supply and get everything but a wife.
Yeah.
Tractor Supply has everything. You can just go in there and be like, oh, I have a tractor. I'll have a transmission. I'll have water for that. Oh, I'll have a gun safe. I'll buy a barn. All there. They just get out that catalog. It's like Landlord Super.
There we go.
Cold water freight, comrade.
Boss, you don't understand what he said? I guess that makes sense. It looks like that horn stuck in your head has impacted the language center of your brain. If only we had a recruit with the Russian interpreter skill, we could get by with simultaneous...
It'd be funny if you just grabbed this guy and then just whistled for the horse in his ear. Just whistle in his ear while choking him out. He's like, why?
Alright.
Mayhawk asks, did you get heroism points for kicking a guy awake and sticking a gun in his face? You're right.
Yes.
That's super heroic.
Super, super heroic.
Kojima has
And,
a list of things that's heroic, and threatening people who have been disarmed, very heroic. That is what heroes do.
The most heroic heroism that I could ever hero. Do I have night vision yet? No. So I am going to just be honest here. I didn't really listen to anything that Ocelot said because he's kind of a tool in this game.
I
What are
really
we
couldn't be
doing
bothered.
here?
Well, there's a bunch of circles and squares. I'd say probably go towards some of those. Go to B, they say. Go to B. All right.
Outpost captured.
Ah! I captured the outpost. Good for me.
A lot of heroism. Captured it for who?
I don't know. You know, it's the strangest thing. The Soviets will be here when I come back.
But you captured it.
But I captured it.
All right, go to B. Left.
Yeah, give me a sec. Alright, you hang
Oh.
here, horse.
Hans.
Hans the Horns? Ah,
Troubleman
fuck.
says, enjoying this reasonable frame rate gameplay after watching so much MGS4.
So MGS4 wasn't bad. MGS3 was painful.
That the ending to that was hilarious how slow it was. We were just having a podcast at the end.
Yeah, we were having a podcast and occasionally I would have to press a button.
Yeah, occasionally you'd be like, all right, here we go.
There we go. I have to scan the papers with my iPod.
You captured a small village in the middle of nowhere, Afghanistan. Truly impressive.
Why does it leave smoke?
Because it's not a good scanner.
Like, is that
I had a
burning
printer.
toner?
Yeah, I had a printer that actually smoked once.
I'm marking it on your
It was one of those little motors seized up, and it was actually kind of scary because I just saw smoke come out of the printer, and I was like, "What?" And then it just stopped. But it just smelled like burning plastic, and I was like, "What the fuck?" And yeah, it just seized the fuck up. It was ruined. I was like, Jesus. But it was like a $50 printer, so you're like, "Oh no!" And then you go buy another one.
Yeah, I mean, printers are disposable at this point.
Yeah.
You used to be able to kind of game the system by going and seeing what the cheapest, ink was.
Yeah, and then go buy that printer.
Yeah, and go buy that printer. But now they're all just bullshit. How do I remove that then? If it's not... Okay.
Place remove marker. Spacebar. Spacebar from the makers of bacon. If I had a bar on a space station, that would be its name.
Spacebar?
It's one of the names you can choose for your station bar in Space Station 13, the Space Bar.
That's a pretty good name.
Oh, my neighbor's riding his mower around again. I guess it is time to drink. It is a Monday.
I can hear that, yeah.
All right, so let me tell you a story.
So,
I
who's
have-
worse? Motorcycle guy, Cessna guy, or mower guy? Or Mr. Train? Or is it
Man,
just this
I'm-
cacophony in the background?
It is a
constantly?
cacophony of sounds. I am surprised that there is not a fucking brass review that marches by for funerals. I'm surprised that there is not like a carnival that goes through the backyard because of all the shit we have. So we have Mr. Train, who can either make 4 noises a day or 4,000 noises a minute. Again, like I said at the outro of the Christmas Bullet, it is just random, okay? You got that. You got Mr. Train. Mr. Train is one of them. The other is Cessna Guy. Fuck Cessna Guy. Cessna Guy's crazy. Cessna Guy is a guy who flies at like 500 to 800 feet and flies up the river and down the river. And he's like, I have a Cessna. And I'm like, you're going nowhere. The Cessna is literally a passport to SAD. It is what is within range? Nothing. Nothing is in range in a Cessna. A Cessna is basically, I have a plane checkbox. It is one step above glider. Cessna is Babby's first airplane. It's a good thing to learn on, but it's like a shopping cart for the sky. So Cessna Guy flies in figure 8s above my house, and he's like, I'm learning. And I'm like, no one cares. So then we have...
It sounds like he's either building hours or you live near a training school and you're just making fun of students.
Probably. I mean, seriously, I've reported to a few of the pilots. I've reported it to a few of the pilots I've met, and they're like, yeah, that's quite low. Like, that's really not good. And I'm like,
no,
I understand that. But every time I've ever seen something unsafe in the fucking air, it's been a Cessna pilot.
Yeah.
Because it's like some guy going, I just got a pilot's license. And you look up and here's someone trying to figure out how to skywrite. And you're like, oh, wow, that's a stall. Cessna pilot.
I wonder, can you get in trouble for skywriting dirty words?
That's a good question. Yeah, Destroyer 455 says, it is a flying midlife crisis. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
No, you're not.
I see Cessnas and owning them in the same atmosphere as owning a sailboat. If you got the money and you got the time, it's a great hobby to throw money at. And I'm sure it's very freeing and fun. But for the rest of us normies, we'll fly coach.
Yeah. God, coach is fucking awful though.
God, it's horrible. Now, one of the ones that I think that is crazy though is there was this guy that fires up the lawnmower, and I know that he does not have much lawn. His house occupies most of the lot, so he has about 12 feet of lawn. I'd say about 12 feet by 4 feet deep. So, you know, a pass, turn, pass, done. Maybe some edging to clean it up, but a simple lawn, yes?
Yeah.
Simple. Pass, turn, pass, done. So when I moved to this area, I noticed this lawnmower would start up at weird hours. Like, not lawn mowing hours, like 8 p.m. or 7 a.m. or noon. Just start, and I would hear it fire up and then roll down the street. And I think maybe this guy has like a lawn service in town, right? Maybe this guy has just like some side business, and at random times, like neighbors call him and are like, hey, can you mow my lawn or something like that?
Yeah.
And there's retirees in this neighborhood. So at first I was thinking, oh, maybe this guy is just being a sweetheart and is using his, mower, right? And he's going around with a nice mower he bought as a sweetheart and just going around and mowing people's lawns so they don't have to because it's fucking hot.
I
going,
don't mean to
wow.
cut you off, but have you ever
Sure.
wondered how like adults support themselves on a lawn mowing business?
I don't know. Charge too much.
Yes. I saw like a guy with a
Yeah.
mid 80s Toyota, well kept, and he had a single lawnmower and a very small trailer, and he's like, this is, whatever lawn care. I'm sitting there going, man, how do you have enough?
Ukrainian tap water says unreported income.
Gotcha. Okay.
So side business.
Yeah, side
But
business.
this guy, I was figuring. I honestly was like, this guy must mow lawns all around town because
Yeah.
he's got this big riding mower, and maybe he's an older dude. So I figure, oh, maybe he had a riding mower, and maybe he was like, oh, I had a lawn business at some point, and he just fires it up every so often. Is like, I'm gonna go mow somebody's lawn for free. You know what I mean? Like, I thought it would just be a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thing. And hey, Kai, howdy, and thanks for joining us. Instead, here's what I found out, because I started thinking there is another option for someone who's riding a mower around town. That option is a somebody who drinks their lunch, perhaps, and I was
F is a weird aim down sights button.
so I was sitting there going, like, surely that's not the case, right?
Yeah.
So I told you about this, but I'll tell chat. About a month ago, I was walking through town because sometimes when I have problems or anxiety or whatever, I gotta just get out there and just walk around. And if you don't walk outside at least once a day, you have a very strong possibility of just becoming.
You cut off after becoming.
Wow, Discord just threw me away. Excellent. But you end up becoming like an indoor cat, right? You end up becoming one of these people that just doesn't go outside and doesn't do anything, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And so you'll be sitting there and you got to go outside and just walk. You'll just be sitting there like, you've had too much indoors for the day. You've had your internal screm and you need to just, go do things, right? Well, I was walking down the street, minding my own business, as you do. And then, all of a sudden, as you do, I hear that mower coming down the road. And I hear that mower coming down the road. And I go, my neighbor. I'll wave at him. So, I raise myself up and I point myself, I do the social thing where I make eye contact in his direction and I extend my arm to begin waving. And as I extend my arm to begin waving, I make eye contact with somebody who looks like they are driving the last dinghy from a cursed expedition that was trapped in the ice a year ago. That glazed-eyed look of determination, but broken mind.
Yeah.
Slumped over in the chair like Mr. Leahy, running that mower at full throttle, rolling down the road. And I waved at him, and he just went, yep! And then parked the mower and walked inside his house. Later that day, he went outside and started his 4 motorcycles, one after another, and just let them run as full as he could, and then turned them off. These are the things that he does on a day-to-day basis. Ride that mower while looking like an unmade bed that smokes cigars that it buys at the gas station, and then starting any of the 4 mowers, which drive nowhere. They go nowhere. They are parked in front of his house. He has to show you that he has 4 motorcycles and a riding mower, and he will start and run them, but only the riding mower he will use to drive around town. He's an interesting guy. But yeah, he looks like Mr. Leahy's stunt double. He's like, all right, Randers, I gotta go mow a lawn. And you're like, oh, God. But yeah, riding mower guy is an interesting guy. We have a lot of local characters.
Is this guy a chronic DUI? Your guess is as good as
don't know.
ours.
I don't know. Yeah, Goat's seen him, and he says he looks like if Willie Nelson did time in federal lockup. Like he does not look good. He looks like Willie Nelson got beat with Willie Nelson's corpse. He does not look good. It's one of those people where you can tell someone had a lot of city miles. You know what I mean?
Maybe he's dealing with his own cocktail of anxiety. You're correct.
Yeah, he could be.
But Panic Bomb Arcade counters with every mower guy I've ever met has lost his license.
Yeah. I'll mow the lawn coming back from the LC, Randers. Randy Bobandy. Mr. Leahy. I have no idea who's who and who's what, but you run into all of these really interesting characters, and one of the facts I would like to make true, at least to tell you guys something from my perspective, there is a line from the Grand Budapest Hotel, which is a good movie.
Fantastic film.
Yeah, it's a good movie. And the Grand Budapest Hotel, they point out that, you know, a writer doesn't have to invent a story. If you are a writer, people bring their stories to you. The issue I have is if I wrote any of this up, from being harassed by idiot pilots who don't know how to fly a plane appropriately, to harassed by DJ Trainman, to harassed by the Mower Olympics, or the guy who owns the 4 horsemen of loud, untuned, misfiring motorcycles, while trying to record audio stuff, no one would believe me. They would say that is made up for a sitcom. These are characters, and it's interesting because, again, if I wrote this shit and I said, these are real people, you'd go, bullshit. But if I wrote these as fictional characters for a sitcom, you'd be like, yeah.
Yeah. The sitcom personalities are the Bizarro World version of real people you've met.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody's actually like Kramer, but you've met a lot of people who remind you of Kramer.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things where you realize a lot of people are essentially cartoon characters. Sometimes people are like cartoon characters.
Yeah.
People who just do really weird stuff, and you're like, why the fuck do you do that? And it's just, they're weird. And there's, okay, that confused one says, no doubt I spent time in New Jersey with family that was Kramer. Ah. Yeah, it's. If I wrote a sitcom, all I would have to do is change names of any of the people I've met in my life. I can just say, like, this person's a real person, and you go, no, that's a silly sitcom character. I'm like, nope, people are really quite weird.
Oh no, Kojima saw the poster for The Thing.
Yeah.
Boss, watch out. It's the skulls. Don't let them find us.
Extraction arrived.
Yeah, Goat's right, like Stagger. Stagger is a sitcom guy. Agreed. If we told stories
Please stop
like
moving
Stagger,
towards.
if we told stories like you've been around for Stagger stories, Stagger's been on the podcast,
Yeah,
and he's not
I've
putting.
talked to Stagger.
He's not. You're not. He's not putting on airs. That's literally who he is. He is literally that person.
Yeah.
He's absolutely hilarious, but he's a cartoon character. Like Stagger is a realistic cartoon.
Alright, so we're gonna let those two get onto the bridge here, and then we're just gonna clip-clop our way up past them.
I just love that the enemy has like super soldiers who are possessed with super abilities, but you know they're foiled by horse. Mr. Clip Clop is better than your black.
Oh
program.
god damn it! They haven't started moving yet.
Oh damn! I was just gonna say, like, if Mr. Clip Clop can destroy your Black Ops program, it's not a very good Black Ops program. Also, if you need to have a bunch of small arms, like, that are high-end bespoke small arms, why would you have a bunch of old M1 Thompsons for your, again, Super Soldier Black Ops weapon program guys? Because while I understand the Thompson's cool, I own one, I would not equip super special operators with them because it's a Art Deco machine gun. It's
I need you to keep running, horse.
very modern.
No.
Mr. Ed, the classified adventures. Yeah, they're saying I'm pretty sure that's modded. I don't remember them having that in the base game. Oh, I know.
No, yeah, they did not have Thompsons in the base game.
I'm just saying I also disagree with
I'm
Thompsons.
trying to remember what
disagree
they
with
did
FALs.
have. I think they're the little fake MP5 variant.
That's fine. I don't mind. I'm just saying, if you're gonna have a super soldier program with super soldiers, they need super space guns, right?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't even want HKG-11s. I would want something that defied reality, just like the characters, yes? Like, if you have a superhero, like...
Yeah, like the railgun from Metal Gear Solid 2.
Exactly. Make it as crazy as the character, because, like, if Superman needs, like, a 38 special to do his job, it's not that good, is it? He's not very much Superman, is he? Also,
I wonder
how does
what
the
a
horse get the
super...
fuck out of here?
He gets ballooned out.
Ah.
No,
That's
no,
weird.
I wanna load him in the helicopter. Thank you.
I mean, just give them something that's different. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
again, they shouldn't have... If they're super soldiers with crazy magical abilities, make it to where they don't even have a gun. They just run up super fast and, like, punch their fist through you. And you're like, oh, shit, they're bulletproof and they can punch their fist through you. You just had a guy who was a fire whale. You can't...
And rides a
do that.
fire Pegasus.
Right, a unicorn.
It was
Right?
both, right? It was winged and
God.
horned.
My God. Yeah, I mean...
The
yeah,
Unipeg.
Unipeg, I guess.
Which sounds much different as an adult than it did, as a child.
You're not wrong. I love
Oh,
how it
yeah.
shows-
Also, every mission has its own intro and extra credits, so we're going to be here a while.
I saw somebody who remixed this. They modded it to where when it showed the credits, it played the Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yep.
Yeah, that was great. So it's like you extract somebody, it's like, no, boss, you hurt all those people, and that's like bum 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 bum. Yeah,
This is the right body this time. I did not steal a random Marine off Gitmo. Did I tell you about that, Tex?
oh God, go ahead.
So we were rescuing people for the prologue.
Yeah.
Well, there were two guys in the LZ, so I dropped them, and I have to wait for the helicopter to show up. And when it did, I accidentally grabbed one of the guys I dropped and threw him in the helicopter without checking. So I just stole Private First Class Snordmeyer from Gitmo in 1976.
Good Lord, the Great Marine Heist. That's great. So you just were like, aha, and then you just took someone.
And the entire time, Kaz is yelling like, "Boss, you're gonna abort the mission if you don't put them on the helicopter." And I'm like, he's on the helicopter.
That's hilarious.
See this? Diamond Docks. Our new home.
Oh yeah, they've got this all set up before you ever awoke from a coma. Because, you know, that's easy to do. When your super charismatic great leader is withering away in a Cypriot hospital under an assumed name. Yet the boss really wanted Private Schmuckatelli. Goddamn right he did.
Yeah, he said, I need... What do you need? Mediocre. When do you need it? Now.
The government doesn't want you to know Marines are free. You can just take them home.
Yeah, I have a platoon of Marines. I have a platoon of Marines. I every time I go down to, you know, the basic training center, I just grab a few. I'm just like, hey, you boys are coming with me. You look like you don't have anywhere to be, and I just grab them and run. I have 100 Marines. You can just take them. No big deal.
The fucked up thing is, if you wore the right uniform, you absolutely could. Show up, say, I need Marines for a working party, put them in the back of your van. You've just kidnapped like half a platoon.
You know what's funny is if it's entertaining enough, the Marines would go along with it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
If you walked up to a bunch of Marines working on something and you're like, if you had the right uniform and a clipboard and you're like, I need a working party right goddamn now, and you just start yelling at them, you could probably walk off with half a division over the course of a week.
Hey guys, you can keep police calling this parking lot again, or we can go have some fun.
Yeah, I mean, all you gotta do is just show up and be like, guys, look, I'm not trying to say that we're gonna get into shenanigans, but, you know, and then you just say, I can't tell you what we're gonna get into, but this is the theme music I've chosen. And then you just start playing, you know, like the Great Escape theme, like on your Walkman, and you just watch as they all start smiling, because they're all envisioning different chaos, and then they're on board.
The body I've lost. The comrades I've lost.
Why are we still here?
Won't stop hurting.
Just to live Moss, Kaz.
They're all still there. You feel it too, don't you? I'm the one who got caught up.
So what's this guy's special ability? I forget.
Even the
Well, he dies in Metal Gear Solid 1 off screen.
feeding off Zero's
Man, that is a really compelling character. I'm glad he has that depth of writing.
They came after you in Cyprus.
Yeah. He's supposed to be the, like, man consumed by ungovernable rage
Swallowing everything.
versus Ocelot's shit happens, deal with it kind of cavalier attitude. But the two don't play off each other well at all because the writing's not there. I had paused everything so that Tex wouldn't miss any of this while he stepped away to use the restroom, but
I'm back.
Christ, I don't care.
No, it's all right. I'm back. Did the stream come back?
Yeah, we've been back for a second. I had it on the technical difficulty screen But like I said, I realized this is all fucking cutscene and I don't care. And neither do you, and neither really was chat. Oh,
No,
thank
it's
you
all
for
right.
the
I went to go
subscription
get,
badge.
I went to take a piss and get some jerky. I don't keep the same thing in the same room. Like I don't keep my piss and hole and the jerky in the same room. But
Yeah, well, like you
I
do.
had more than enough. I would say I would have a more than enough time, to be honest. In all honesty, to probably start a beef Wellington from scratch. From scratch. By the time we arrived at what I would call a plot point. I honestly think
The world
could-
calls for wet work and we answer.
I think, in all honesty, I could very seriously, and I do mean this, dead serious, like start a beef Wellington from fucking scratch by the time we arrived at any point.
Yeah. Ah, good lord.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it doesn't include raising the cow. I don't want to be too crazy, but I could probably have a fairly decent philosophical discussion while killing and then harvesting the cow. By the time, and then finishing the beef Wellington.
For 9 whole years. That ends today.
So,
Bully Snake says he can sum up 10 minutes of cutscene in 30 seconds. Here's the problem with that. Most Kojima fans will insist on summing up that 10 minutes of cutscene for 4 years.
I never understood. Did he lose his arm and leg in the explosion? Or did the Afghani, like the Soviet VDV, cut his arm and leg off as torture?
Well, usually if you have a blast or something that takes limbs off on that side, you also end up losing an ear on that side. It's called the Van Gogh effect. But usually those people die in those situations.
See, von Falkenstein and that confused one are at odds. Each of them say the other. Oh, come on. I
Learn
can
how to
fucking
run Mother Base. So who built this oil platform?
BP, I hope. Fuck you. I was in Force
Schrodinger's
Walking.
lost arm.
He lost his arm and leg at the local 7-Eleven. Alright, that's a hot take. I think that if I had robotic hand that was able to grip and do fine motor tasks, I'd probably still put the cut-off glove on it. Like, he's got a bunch of left gloves that he doesn't use, right?
I mean, if you already own them, I guess.
Yeah, and it protects, the finish from scratches. Because look at that. That's a nice, really saturated, probably automotive paint.
Yeah,
This base belongs to you now. Make diamond dogs.
I was thinking funny, like when you start looking for little artistic details, because you do have, I do talk with Eldonius and stuff, because Eldonius has drawn Professor Tex and a bunch of the other things. So when I want to drop a hint or a backstory about the character, Eldonius is the first person I go to. We've talked about like prosthesis and what they should look like and stuff like that. And we did talk about that, like, Eldonius will have those questions, like, how is this repaired? And I said, engine block enamel paint. It's like your robotic hand's fucked up. And it'd be like, well, just hear the rattle cannon primer. Like, you don't have time for that. Man, Snake's the second worst HR guy I've seen.
Wait for it. You're welcome. It's surprise chiropractic is what it is. He's not finished, he says.
I'm not going to tell you who the worst HR guy is. That's a long story, but I stand by my statement on the podcast, and that is, normally, every time I've run into an HR person, it's a corporate commissar rather than someone who's there to help you.
Yeah.
test it out on the staff here. Anyone you want. First, put him to sleep. You have a tranquilizer.
So here's the question of when we I tuned into the right time as an HR professional. Well, Goat's been an HR professional before. I have friends who are HR professionals, so I always give each other shit. They give me shit for working for the military-industrial complex. And we all just give each other shit. Because we come from that era of gentle and modest mockery at everyone else's job.
Not a base.
I have to do 5 of these.
So you just flew that guy up, but he's already here, right?
Yeah.
So where's he going?
Well, into space, I think. I mean,
Right,
he
but
literally is
aren't they just
doing...
gonna bring him back here?
Extraction arrived.
But they're doing the Team Rocket blast-off fucking thing.
Well, that is insane.
They couldn't even have, like, a C-130 with the catch cords fly over.
I don't think that would work well.
No, it wouldn't, because of the way that, you know, they fucked up how Fulton actually works.
Well, yeah. the guys who do Fulton would be like, yeah, I wouldn't do that.
Unit function added.
They're like, it's really dangerous.
Added.
This is how you fire people in this. In Ty's AU, I wish I could tell you, but in the American workplace, you want to hear crazy stories.
Extraction arrived.
Just go on Reddit and type in HR, like nightmare or horror stories, and you'll find 100,000 of them from
Oh, it's
people
5,
creating
right?
personal. Say again.
That was 5, right?
I think so. But you'll find a ocean of HR horror stories where, God, you know, you'll
Yeah.
ranging from shakedowns to denying people their actual defended rights under disability. I've seen an HR professional actually tell someone that they weren't disabled. I've seen that. So it's one of those things where I understand what the job's supposed to be, but in my own life, I've seen the opposite quite frequently.
Please or supplies
You can have the support
requested.
unit supply you with weapons and items you've
Supply
developed.
drop
Think of it
complete.
as your own personal delivery service.
Let's see, what are we gonna do? We put people into space. We have an M39, which is nice, and now we're just standing around outside.
There it is.
Yeah, I'd say that the oil station seems to have a fairly toxic work environment.
And there it is. Not sure what it's good for, but Miller said you know what to do. Try it out. One thing I should
Oh, a cardboard box.
won't always be successful.
As you know, you gotta crawl into it like a cat to get things out.
And if the weather's unfavorable, well, it could end up going missing. You can determine the chance of success by
Yeah, does their secret base have a giant logo out front, you know, visible in the sky, like Fulton guys pick up here?
chopper instead.
Yes.
One last thing. The staff members you extracted were all placed on the R&D team, but that was Miller's decision. If you think they belong somewhere else, you're free to move them around. Well, that about does it.
Mission
You won't
info
make any
has
GM
The cardboard box is my favorite Metal Gear Series
Lord.
character. I agree. I'd say they have the most depth.
droid and select a landing zone to
I would also say that they're the most believable. All right, let's go ahead and just send these people to nap time by shooting them in the face, you know, repeatedly.
neck.
Yeah, in the neck. As you know, getting shot in the neck with a tranquilizer is top tier.
Well, and there's, like, Metal Gear Solid 2, PlayStation 2 era. When you hit somebody with a dart, there was a dart physically sticking out of them where you hit.
That's one thing I liked was all the nice little things as well in Metal Gear Solid 3, where you would see all the arrows and stuff stuck in people. I thought that was really cool.
And they decided, I guess, that was too much effort, so...
I miss all the small details. Like in Metal Gear Solid
Like-
2, remember when there was that little toy that was shooting pellets? And we saw the pellets bounce off the wall and then go and bounce into other ones, and it was
As
her
a
sister.
kid, I
Yeah.
let that thing go for like 3 hours, and the entire floor of that room was covered with
is
white
amazing.
BBs. And yeah, it was
Yeah.
fantastic. My PS2 smelled like it was on fire, but
Yeah, but still, it's just amazing to think of, wow, that was so long ago. And look at
yeah,
how
ice
just-
melted over time in both Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2.
I love how everyone salutes you. You know?
Yeah,
It's one of those things where you have to ask, like, how do you earn the respect of your employees? And it's called shoot them and put them on balloons so planes can steal them and then beat memories out of them.
yeah.
Well, you would salute back if you were actually a military man, but I think at this point, Snake is just like Charles Bukowski in uniform.
Extraction arrived.
He just walks around and talks about how much hate he has.
Big Boss is the HR manager.
Added.
Oof.
Yeah, those Russians now have Americanized accents, correct.
He beat the accent out of him.
Man, yeah,
He
there we
just-
go. That's another cutscene score for us.
Excellent. I love those cutscenes and how they're scored. Oh wow, we need a look the bond level with D horse. What does D stand for? Destroyer horse.
Diamond. He's
sounds-
Diamond Horse. I'm not joking.
Can I just make something up that's fun? Can I just make something fun? Like can I say like it stands for destroyer horse? You know?
Nope.
I'm sad now.
Snake looks at T-62s the same way Ash Ketchum looks at Rat-a-tatas. Yes.
I don't yeah. Oh cool. He's starting one of his 4 motorcycles.
Mm.
I heard it kick.
Mission list updated.
As you know, when you start a motorcycle, it's incredibly important to hold the throttle all the way open because those rods don't need to be straight. I like it when my rods in my motorcycle kiss the pistons. Oh yeah, when he starts the bike, he floods it, and then it runs like ass, and then it starts pinging, and then he turns it off, and then he will move to the next bike. Listen to it run. It sounds like total dog ass. It's and then you can hear it pinging, and I'm like, did you fill it with kerosene? Yeah, it cannot hold idle. Now, having ridden and run a motorcycle before,
Yeah.
you don't run them. You don't run them like that.
No, you
It's-
don't.
You generally let them nice, clean, soft start, you know, and you make sure everything's exactly where it should be in the oil. And then you're probably gonna have to tune the idle a little bit because if it's sat for a while, like the winter, you're gonna have to make sure you have new gas in it. You have to make sure that the tank hasn't like delacquered or any of that other stuff. You have to really take care of it. Purge the lines, and the first thing you do with a motorcycle is not like hard start it and crank it down. This guy does that, runs it really hard, and then it just starts pinging really bad. Right.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, it's that shit. It's him just running it. He loves noise outside. One of our other neighbors, music guy. Oh my god. Okay, we have a neighbor that is going through the it is an expression of pain phase of his life. Okay, now, okay, every so often, this neighbor will go out to his car and we will hear blaring at full volume with the windows rattling so hard you can make out every lyric of Enter Sandman. As he sits there with no expression on his face, staring straight ahead, hands at 10 and 2 on the steering wheel of his car.
Yeah, Goat saying he doesn't even wear the expression of pain. He just stares dead ahead.
Yeah, dead ahead. and cranks, you know, Metallica Inner Sandman and listens to it about 3 or 4 times. So you just hear, you just blaring through the thing, and you can hear it through the wall. It's so loud. And then after about 3 or 4 of that, he goes inside very quietly. Now, I'm not sure how many, like, arguments you have to lose in your domestic situation to do that, but I'm willing to bet it's all of them.
That sounds pretty extreme, yeah.
Yeah, so he does that at like 10:40 at night. He's like, I will just hear Inner Sandman through the wall, and you hear just blasting through the wall is this guy, hands 10 and 2 on the steering wheel, straight ahead. And I mean, we don't live in a leper colony. These people. Oh, hear that? He started a second motorcycle. He has started the second motorcycle. We have 2 motorcycles. Yeah, of 4. Motorcycle number 2 has been started. Oh, this one is backfiring. How's them piston rings, buddy? Smonky?
Yep, they're smooth. They're smooth.
They're very smooth. Yeah, so he's burning the pistons out of his bike as we speak. And it's his hobby. It seems to be his full-time hobby. It's just like destroying vehicles he owns. He's an interesting guy. Yeah, Ukrainian Taiseiyu says with 4 unique enough motorcycles, you can do a real guttural rendition of Fortunate Son. Yeah. It's Ukrainian Tapwater says Tex lives in bizarro Truman Show land. You're not wrong. It's I do not live in a trailer park, but it seems like I have characters from it. I've talked with them. Yeah, I've talked with my neighbors. They will wear the mask of normal people. They will go, "Hey, how's it going? No problem." Wave, Truman Show shit. And then, you know, go back to gunning the motorcycle so hard. Gunning the motorcycle so hard that it damages the engine.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right. Goat has a hard time getting them to talk, but, you know, Goat says that's because he's not as white as I am. And that's fair. But
also,
I
probably
found,
not wrong.
Probably not wrong. I've found. Oh, are we gonna roll this? Yeah. I've seen a lot of vehicles roll down hills over the years.
It's fine. It just lives there now.
It lives there now. But no, it's one of those things where you end up with all of these crazy people. I don't know what happened, but over COVID, all these people just kind of melted away, lost their minds. So you've got the guy who is sitting there listening to Inner Sandman at 400 decibels, blowing the speakers out of his car, and then he goes back inside, silent. Like, I have purged myself of all screaming emotion. Oh yeah, you the other set of neighbors that look like older Corey and Trevor from Trailer Park Boys, except they look angry. Right? Yeah. There's a lot of weird people in this town, but I don't know. I do not know. Yeah, I know who you're talking about, the Corey and Trevor guys. Those guys scrapping that thing. But yeah, you get all of these really, really, really weird characters.
So that man just dropped to his death.
Well, it happens. I just, once the bottle kid situation, no bottle kids, don't worry. We've got a lot of really strange characters, but again, you don't really have to write too much bizarro nonsense in this world. All you have to do is more or less just observe. So he has fired up 2 motorcycles I'm going to wait and see if he does 3. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But Bottle Kids are a reference to Trailer Park Boys. They go look up Trailer Park Boys Bottle Kids. You'll probably find a short YouTube video on it. And as far as it goes with, God, as far as it goes with just bonkers stuff, I mean, in any town, if you pay attention to the comings and goings of people, Grenade, if you pay attention to the comings and goings of people, you will find that there are plenty of wild and crazy characters. Plenty. You just have to pay attention. I think of my favorites, though, I think Motorcycle and Lawnmower Guy is probably the most interesting one. The Inner Sandman guy, I'm worried about.
Yeah, he seems like things aren't going very well for him.
I think if you sit
Like,
in
that's
your
the kind of
car-
story people tell before somebody has a mental break. Like, oh yeah, you know, I thought he was fine, but he would go out and
He
listen
really
to...
liked Inner Sandman.
Yeah.
Around. Snake?
It's one of those things where you run into people and you just see them and you're like, wow. It's like, I remember that it was a while ago. We had one guy who used to just drive around the block very, very slowly. That was his thing. Like, you know, just like put it in neutral and just let it crawl around the block. And that was his, you know, like, you know, there's the lazy river at a water park.
Yeah.
He made his own. He made his own. He made his own.
And there's always the one person trying to stand in the lazy river and fucking up the flow.
Well, there was, let's see. Trying to remember all the weird ones. There was that one guy that was just standing on the street corner smoking a cigarette, or so I thought, but I realized he just had a cigarette butt in his mouth and he was sucking on it really hard. So I decided not to make eye contact with him.
Yeah.
He looked a little, you know, busy
Mm-hmm.
with his hobbies. Nicotine siphon. How many more minutes we got left? That's a good question.
We've only got 15, so I'm going to call it here, since I gotta get ready for work anyway.
Oh, I understand. You better have a safe one. And everyone in chat, thanks for checking us out. Thanks for hanging out. And by the way, the Courtesy Flush is playing Tex Murphy Under a Killing Moon. If you want to go
Yeah.
over there and bother Mike. I
And next
recommend.
Next time, remind the 80 people that left during 204 that 204 is temporary.
204 happens. 204 happens. Next up is Quish with Cooking on the Rim. Enjoy
Yep.
some RimWorld.
Alright guys, stay safe out there.
Stay safe, everybody. Is everyone happy after some technical difficulties?
Speaking of technical difficulties, the controller's not working again.